It has come to the notice of the management of Bank of Industry (BOI) that some unscrupulous persons are defrauding the general public by claiming to be the bank's agents. BOI insists that it does not engage persons or organizations as its agent to sell application forms or receive completed loan applications on its behalf. If you are a genuine entrepreneur and prospective customer, please freely walk into any of BOI's zonal offices nearest to you and obtain the application forms and list of requirements for accessing loans directly, free of all charges. You can also visit our website and social media platforms for other details. For more information, call our head office in Lagos 01271 5070-99 or Abuja Corporate Office 080-7399-0022 www.boinigeria.com.
Hello, good evening, and welcome to another edition of Wealth Creation Through Industrialization. I am Hadiza Olaoshibikun. On the 19th of May 2014, Mr. Rasheed Olaoluwa assumed office as the third Managing Director and Chief Executive Officer of the Bank of Industry. After almost 2 months on the saddle, business editors and correspondents were invited to the bank's headquarters in Lagos for a media briefing, where Mr. Olaoluwa unveiled his vision for the Bank of Industry, which he optimistically asserted would transform BOI to a world-class development financial institution. He was quick to point out that no meaningful development can take place without communication, as well as active stakeholder engagement and strong collaboration with vital development partners, including the media. Here are highlights of Mr. Olaoluwa's interactive session with the media. At the first meeting with the management of the bank, the Managing Director and Chief Executive Officer of the Bank of Industry, Mr. Rasheed Olaoluwa, urged the management team to work together as one in the development of the country through the bank's efforts in job and wealth creation.
It's a pleasure to be here to join you guys. It's also a privilege, a very special privilege, because I believe that we are on a very important national assignment. Our country is faced with a number of challenges in terms of industrialization, in terms of promoting small and medium enterprises, in terms of creating employment for our large and growing populace. So I think for us to make progress, we need to implement better, and we also need to coordinate ourselves. So, and it's actually something that will go beyond Bank of Industry. Of course, Bank of Industry will, bring the financing perspective, but several arms of government will have to play a role in this. I've come with an open mind, gentlemen. I want us to all keep an open mind. I think we need to take Bank of Industry from where it is to the next level. I think that's the only thing I can commit, to you guys, and I'm soliciting all your support. I can't do it alone. Nobody here can do it alone. No single agency can do it alone. What's important is we need to have collaboration. We need to have teamwork. We must support one another.
At the highly attended interactive session with business editors and correspondents in Lagos, the MD of BOI, Mr. Rasheed Olaoluwa, alongside other management staff of BOI for the first time, met with the media to unveil his vision, goals and strategy on how he hopes to reposition the bank in line with global best practices.
Since my assumption of duties at BOI on the 19th of May 2014, as the Managing Director, CEO of the bank, I've engaged with several other stakeholders in our development finance journey. This includes, just to mention a few, organizations such as Manufacturers Association of Nigeria, MAN, the United Nations Industrial Development Organization, UNIDO, the African Development Bank, ADB, and the Association of Nigeria Chambers of Commerce, Industry, Mines, and Agriculture, NACIMA. The transformation agenda of Mr. President, part of which deals with the employment generation and wealth creation, is the major focal point of our efforts at the Bank of Industry. As you are aware, our supervising Honorable Minister of Industry, Trade and Investment, Dr. Olusegun Aganga, is leading the efforts very actively to industrialize Nigeria and to create millions of jobs in the process. At BOI, we are very passionate about these objectives.
Thereafter, he outlined a roadmap for a development agenda of the bank.
In the recent past, the Bank of Industry was very instrumental in the management of the following funds. 1, CBN's Intervention Funds, which is comprised of a 235 billion naira SME Restructuring and Refinance Fund, as well as a 300 billion naira Power and Aviation Intervention Fund. 2, various funds put together by the Federal Ministry of Agriculture for the development of cassava bread, rice, food security, sugar, automotive, and so on and so forth. And thirdly, SME matching funds by 18 states of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. These funds have enabled BOI to grant total loans to the tune of 672 billion naira to date, both directly and through the intervention funds, creating close to 1 million jobs in the process.
While stressing that under his watch, BOI will make impactful contributions to National Enterprise Development Program (NEDEP) and the Nigerian Industrial Revolution Plan (NIRP). These are the two laudable programs launched by President Goodluck Ebele Jonathan earlier this year to fast-track the country's industrialization drive.
The transformation of BOI has become a national strategic imperative, especially in view of the National Industrial Revolution Plan, NIRP, and the National Enterprise Development Program, NEDEP, launched recently by President Goodluck Ebele Jonathan, GCFR. Consequently, we are exploring alternative means of funding, such as the following. 1, continuation of sector-specific intervention funds by the Central Bank of Nigeria, by the Ministry of Agric, and the Federal Ministry of Solid Mineral Resources, and so on. 2, manage funds from various state governments and HNIs, high net worth individuals. An example that I can give to you is the fund we have from Dangote Foundation, which is to the tune of 5 billion naira to support SMEs in Nigeria. Number 3, we will also explore the possibility of raising long-term loans at very low interest rates from multilateral through international development institutions. And at the moment, I can say to you that we are in discussion that's very advanced with the African Development Bank. Number 4, we will also explore the possibility of raising domestic and international bonds. And number 5, other sustainable annuity sources that may become statutorily imperative in the medium to long term. In order for us to execute the foregoing funding program successfully, we must adopt global best practices in the management of BOI. 1, good corporate governance. 2, sharp focus on our core mandate. 3, sound risk management and compliance. 4, venture capital investment and co-funding. 5, partnerships and collaborations. 6, customer service and responsiveness. And 7, linkages between innovation centers and industry.
He didn't just stop at that. He however sought the support of all in this new development drive for the bank.
Financing our country's development agenda is a huge task. We do not claim to have all the answers. We believe that there are many Nigerians out there with very creative ideas that BOI can explore. To this end, we have created a contact email address, ideas@boinigeria.com. We welcome submissions, no more than 2 pages, from all Nigerians who have development at heart. We undertake to consider all the ideas and act on those considered feasible. Ladies and gentlemen, the foregoing steps are specific, actionable, and achievable. They have been designed as part of our efforts to transform the Bank of Industry into a world-class, highly rated development finance institution that is ever ready to meet the needs of every Nigerian, especially the small and medium enterprises. We shall keep you abreast of the key developments, events, and milestones along the journey from time to time.
After delivering his speech, he entertained questions from members of the press.
You've been in commercial banking and what have you, and now you are now in development banking. What specifically are you bringing on board?
In the course of the last 26 years, I have interacted with several sectors, both in Nigeria and outside Nigeria. I have interacted with development finance institutions locally and internationally. And what is critical at this level is the understanding of the issues. And the issues are very clear to me. There is always a development agenda that supports, the provision of long-term, low-interest rates to industry, to small-scale enterprises, small-scale industries, with a view to helping to industrialize the economy and also to helping creating jobs. The issues are the same, everywhere. And I believe that combination of all the experiences I've gathered over the last 26 and a half years, will stand me in good stead, at BOI.
You said that BOI will need $5 billion within the next 2 years. What will be your strategic focus in respect of the disbursement? At least maybe it's the sectoral analysis for the disbursement profile.
The $5 billion that I mentioned is an estimate, and sector focus, there is a National Industrial Revolution Plan, which has identified 4 key sectors in which Nigeria has a comparative advantage. The first sector is the agro-allied, agro-processing sector, whereby we're looking at, not just exporting, crops, from out of the farms, but actually adding value locally, processing those crops, before we export them or consume them locally. The second sector is oil and gas and energy. I think we all agree that that's a very important sector to Nigeria. We derive a lot of revenue from there. I think what is important is the value adding to the oil sector activity in Nigeria is very low. And what we're trying to do under the NRFP is to ensure that there is a lot of value added. So, for instance, we're going to be encouraging petrochemical industries, fertilizer industries, etc., so that, that value addition can happen. Also, in terms of energy, gas infrastructure investment will be encouraged. This was one of the areas when I met with the governor of the central bank, this was one of the areas we discussed. There's going to be a lot of emphasis on gas infrastructure. So these are the key key sectors that have been identified. But in addition to those broad industrial sectors, SMEs, were also addressed under the National Enterprise Development Program. And the studies have shown that SMEs contribute more than, they account for 90% in terms of employment generation, and we must find a way to really crack that sector. There has been a lot of talk in the past by various stakeholders. I think what we need to do is to ensure that we have concrete action steps, towards it. And I think that's what the NADEP is trying to address.
What impact do you want to make in that sector? Because a lot of people will be looking at you, go to support the vehicle manufacturers and then other stakeholders that they want to get involved. Do you have a strategic plan for the auto policy?
What we're trying to do as a development bank is we try as much as possible not to compete with commercial banks. Okay, so we look at long-term industrial facilities projects, but if you're going to take a car loan for 3-4 years, you and I know that in Nigeria today, banks are doing very well as far as car loans are concerned. So we do not want to compete with them on that. Now, what is the nature of our strategic intervention in the auto industry? Now, there are companies that are looking at local assembly. There are companies that are looking at manufacturing the components, the vehicle components, locally rather than importing them. There are companies that will, for instance, manufacture the car seats, upholstery, and other, plastic like batteries and all that. So these are people that we are in discussion with. We can finance the local manufacturing of some of the car components, and this is the intervention that we're looking at.
I know you're into partnership recently with Unilever. I want to know how far does it have anything to do with job creation? I want to know how far you have come with this partnership. The second one, we are talking about the issue of unemployment, which is the major problem in Nigeria. I know you have given us some of the steps you want to take, but we want to know what are the major steps that you want to focus on to make sure that at least the African Nigeria benefit from all these programs that you have on job creation.
They've engaged with us on a number of sectors. So what they do is their intervention is sector specific. So they can say, okay, in the textile sector, we are doing a study and we've realized that these are the issues. If you do it this way, you can do better, and so on and so forth. And then if you follow through, hopefully you'll get results. Recently, they partnered with Nigeria on industrialization. Their inputs went into the National Industrial Revolution Plan. And in fact, they have shortlisted just 2 countries in Africa, for a pilot office in terms of they want to open 2 offices in Africa for investment promotion, industrial investment promotion office. And they've chosen Nigeria and Ethiopia. Okay, so this is just to highlight, how close the partnership is and how active it has become. They are looking at a lot of agricultural sectors. They're looking at industry. They're looking at how to link, agri to industry. They're looking at how to link innovation to industry, and so on and so forth.
I've had the privilege of interacting with a lot of your clients, Bank of Industry clients, and sometimes we go to their premises, we want to record them doing their production, and there's no power. So the truth is the Bank of Industry does not have a direct control over power, but it affects, your clients. So I'd like to know if you're going to focus on this, because if you give them the money or you buy them equipment and they don't have power to produce, then at the end of the day, they can't even pay back the loans. So I'd like to know what you want to do along this line.
About the power, is a major challenge, and when I attended the meeting of the Presidential Advisory Committee, we actually we took a presentation from the Minister of Power, just to explain to us what is going on in that area. We also took a presentation from the ED for gas in NNPC, essentially to tell us what are the efforts currently being made to ensure that gas infrastructure is developed and to be able to deliver gas to the power plants that really need them to be able to generate power. So these are issues that that are receiving attention, and I'm very optimistic. I'm very confident that in a matter of a year or two, perhaps we should begin to worry less about power. Thank you very much.
How would you look at the issue of research, marketing, and creating a linkage for value addition? Because sometimes we discover that most of these people don't package their goods very well, and they don't have technology, and we don't have so many people in that sector.
That's a very good question, and I think you've combined two issues. Let me just separate them. First, in terms of innovation, what we're planning to do is to explore linkages between centers of innovation and industry. So, for instance, we have a lot of research institutes. There's FIRO, there's Raw Materials Research Institute, there's IITA, there's a lot of them. And they have a lot of things that they have been able to, establish as ways in which we can move from raw agri-products into processed food, processed items for export. We would like to explore the possibility of supporting the linkage of those research centers into industry. That's number one. Number two is in terms of what we mentioned. We're looking at an annual innovation fair or summit, where people will actually come and present their new ideas, and people from industry will also come there to listen and see which one can we explore in our industry, etc. Thirdly, we're working with UNIDO on quality, because again we're trying to encourage our customers to explore the export markets. Okay, and if your product is substandard, you're not likely to make any headway in the international market. So they are also working with us to encourage our factories, to just go up one notch in terms of the quality of the output. And these are very critical areas. So the quality standards, is very important.
Although the media briefing was short, all those present attested to the fact that Mr. Olaoluwa has all it takes in ensuring that BOI becomes a world-class financial institution in time to come. Welcome back. I'm sure you will agree with me after watching and listening to Mr. Olaoluwa's highly impressive address and the subsequent vibrant question and answer session that Nigeria's quest to be amongst the top industrialized nations is achievable sooner than later. He assured entrepreneurs, especially SMEs, of the bank's total support under his leadership. Why not visit any of BOI's offices across the country for details on how you can be assisted by the bank? You could also reach us by phone, email, or through the social media. BOI's contact details are displayed on your screens. Good evening and have an enterprising week. I am Hadiza Olaoshibiko. Bye for now.